Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on the review and a bit of an explanation on the Alpkit Brukit. So let's get it unpacked. So I've owned this, not this specific one, I've owned a Brukit for about a year now, and you know it's got its pros, it's got its cons. I do also own a Jetboil, as you can see there. So I'm going to sort of compare it to a few aspects of that, because I know obviously that's, you know, its main aim, it's the Jetboil killer or whatever. So let's get in. So straight out of the box, you got a plastic lid instead of the silicone lid like on a Jetboil. I don't really have an issue with this, you know, because of the way that this folds in. It keeps it locked in, and it's not really a problem for me. Found these holes really good for draining pasta and stuff, because you know you can keep it and just pour it out like that. You know, you don't risk getting burnt in any way. So out of the box, you're coming with its own pot stand. It's Alpkit's version of the Jetboil one. I actually prefer this one because it does actually lock out, and it's a bit of a looser fit than the Jetboil one. I'll try and show this in a second. So here's both the gas supports. This is the Jetboil version, and this is the Alpkit version. Both accommodate larger gas canisters, as you can see with the outer one. And like I was saying earlier, this does not lock, so whether that's a pro or a con for you, I don't know, but I like the fact that the Alpkit one just locks out, so that when you're sitting it on there, can't do it one-handed, it just doesn't move, whereas this can move. Try and do a bit of a demo to show you why the Jetboil one's a bit harder. So clip it in there, and you can just see that there's like, it's a lot tighter fit than on the Alpkit one, which I'll show you in a second. It's just a bit, once it's on, there's no rotation in it. Like the gas is locked in, you cannot rotate the gas in the canister, and this will become important later. But yeah, there's no movement there, so it is a good lock, and it feels nice and stable. So we'll try the Alpkit one now. So the Alpkit one does actually feel like it's made out of a bit brittler plastic, and the Jetboil stuff feels a little bit more like it's got some flex to it. But this one just literally, so it's quite a loose fit. Isn't really going to fall off, but it is loose because look, you can rotate the gas in the holder. And this also feels nice and stable. There is a little bit more movement because of this looser fit, but it also means you're less likely to damage it out in the field because it just slides on instead of having to properly force it. Like you can see, look, there's very minimal overlap there, and it just slots in, which is nice. It comes with a little pot support, which actually is better than Jetboil. You don't get a pot support included with a Jetboil, and it just opens out. And I found this really good for cooking bacon, burgers, all sorts. Obviously stuff you can't fit in the pot. Been running this gas. This doesn't work very well with this. It really increased the boil times to something like 10 minutes. It's something stupid like that. So I've been using Primus gas, which Alpkit recommend. So the actual burner, you've got your piezoelectric. One issue I found with like manufacturing tolerances is the fact that this doesn't, so when it's closed it doesn't actually line up, so you have to slightly open it a bit to be able to fold it in, to fit in. So it's just a minor thing. So you just got to remember when you're screwing your gas on to close the valve, because I leave it open so I can fold it in. But that's just a minor thing. It's nothing major. So let's hook it up to some gas and show you how piezoelectric works, etc. So we'll hook up to some of this Optimus gas. You know, it screws in pretty easily. There we go, nicely screwed in. So I found the best way, and then obviously just slots onto this plastic thing, which is, it does mount a lot better than the Jetboil one, as I was mentioning earlier. And I will get the Jetboil one in a minute and show you. So it's pretty easy to ignite, a little bit of gas. And it's going straight away. So I found the best way to ignite the Brukit is just don't let too much gas in, or else it sort of overwhelms the piezo. If you just let a little bit in, it will go first time nearly every time. This is actually my second edition Brukit. I had an issue with the first one. I'd owned it for about 4 months, and the piezo stopped working, and also had some valve issues. So Alpkit did actually sort me out straight away and gave me a replacement, so can't complain there. you know, sometimes you just get a bad batch. And yeah, I've used this specific one. I've had this specific one for about 2 months now, and it's been great. I used it on a little 3-day trip in Scotland, and I use this as my only stove, so cooking, making brews in it and stuff, you know, the whole works. Chorizo and the pretty standard camping stuff and boiling water. But yeah, like I said, this gas did not want to comply with this stove very well. It whacked up boiling times to something like 10 minutes, which was just stupid, so I stopped using that gas. So I'll give you a bit of a side-by-side comparison, and I have just boiled that because I'm going to have a brew in a minute. But obviously the Brukit is a lot wider. Try and put this into perspective. As you can see, it is quite a bit wider, and they're about the same height, I would say. The Jetboil and the Alpkit have a slightly different design with the heat exchanger. The Alpkit being a wider diameter pot as well. One thing I have found an issue with the Brukit, and this just goes back to manufacturing tolerances, is that these little sections that lock in on here, they don't fully turn, which is a bit of a pain. So you can't quite trust it to lock in, because I'll try and show you this. Don't know if you can see that little knob there, but that's the furthest it slides into the locking system, which is pretty poor. And that's all just to do with manufacturing tolerances. It won't turn any further. Now, this is a blessing and a curse, because the issue I had with my previous Brukit was that once you boiled your water, you had some boiling water, it was really difficult to actually unlock it, because it would, on my previous one, it would slide all the way in, whereas on this one it only goes to about there. And it was a real issue to try and unlock it without burning yourself, because this handle, especially when it's quite full of water, is really quite flimsy, and if you've got your hand above here, it does burn you a bit. That is one thing that I will give the Jetboil. It slots all the way around, and then to extract it, this Cozy is a lot more insulated than this Brukit one. I find that the Cozy on this isn't really that insulating, and you still can get quite, well, you can burn your hand through it, put it that way. One thing I do like about the Brukit is it's got these little measurement things, so you know, when you're doing like a dehydrated meal or something, you can roughly guesstimate the amount of water you need. It does not have this on the Jetboil, and the Jetboil has a sort of max safe fill line as well. Obviously, because as soon as this thing's boiling, it starts chucking. I mean, I've done it before, I've boiled it over and it's spat water everywhere, which can be quite a hazard, so I tend to abide by that mark. So here's a bit of a side-by-side comparison of the Flash against the Brukit. Burner on the Flash is actually wider in diameter than the Brukit. I haven't measured them, and I'm not going to do, but it's for your visual. You can see. And the piezo sticks out a lot further on the Brukit than on the Jetboil. Funnily enough, the Jetboil one broke after 2 months. It no longer works. It will not ignite with the piezo electric. I've got in touch with Jetboil, and I'm hoping I can get a replacement piezo, but I'm not holding out on it. And another way to sort of put into perspective the width is the fact that the Jetboil burner will go inside the outer of the Alpkit Brukit. So there is a significant diameter difference. So I've got an Nalgene with roughly 800 mils of water in, and I'm going to put 400 in each, and we're going to do a bit of a time test and see sort of whereabouts we are timing wise. So there's 400 in the Jetboil and an extra 400 to go in the Brukit. There is a slight breeze today, but I'm going to have the lids on both, and I'm just going to peer into them, and we'll time it on here. We'll time it on the stopwatch to see how long we're taking roughly. So to begin with, we'll go with the Brukit. Okay, so it's boiling. So in a moderate breeze, that took around 3 minutes and 18 seconds to boil 400 mils of water. And let's see how the jet boil compares. So let's light the jet boil and see how it does. So it was boiling. It's not now, but it was. The jet boil comes in at a respectable 158. So both stoves have done a respectable job, you know. The jet boil obviously blowing the Alpkit out of the water with a 158 boil. But all it can do is boil water, you know, you got to bear that in mind. All this thing can do is boil water. You can't cook on it. You can cook on the Brukit. It is a regulated stove. This Flash is a completely unregulated stove. I suppose a better review would be of the Micro Mo or Mini Mo, but I'm not buying one of those. So some of the pros of the Brukit for me are the fact that you can cook on it. You know, you can really take it down to a nice simmer. I can't show you in this light because it's too bright to really show the gas burning, but it does go down to a nice simmer, and I've cooked nicely. Like, I've reheated up stag chili on it easily, cooked chorizo and warmed up rice, etc. Made pasta, bolognese on it. Done quite a few sort of easy one-pot meals on it, and it's done a great job. Another pro, you can buy a coffee set for it, so you can buy, I think it's the Brukit press. Personally, my experience with it wasn't great. My coffee ended up being quite grainy because it would leak on the back of the press, and you'd still end up with quite a lot of grains, but that's just one of those things. I've also found this thing to be better in the wind than the jet boil. I've taken the jet boil up to the hills to make brews during day walks and stuff, and I've had times where it's just blown itself completely out, and I've had to relight it and find another spot. Never ever had that problem with the Brukit. I don't know whether it's got a slightly better wind resistance because of the depth of this. I'm unsure, but I've personally found that to be a lot better. This has been a lot better and a lot less affected in the wind. I can even let it simmer in moderately windy conditions and it doesn't blow out. I've never had this thing blow out. I've had this thing blow out many times, like completely just wind's taken it and it's just gone out and it's just been leaking gas out. So that is something to bear in mind. That did baffle me because I thought this would be pretty decent system, pretty wind resistant, but no. Maybe it's just my stove. Maybe mine's a dodgy one, especially with the piezo giving up after 2 months, but that's just one of those things, isn't it? I've obviously had a bad experience with this as well. The previous one was faulty, so it's just one of those things. Another benefit of the Brukit is Alpkit is a UK store, and you can go into an Alpkit and take the Brukit in. With Jetboil, you have to go in through a retailer, and it's just a bit hard. It's a bit more difficult process because I've taken this back before, and the warranty was rejected, unfortunately. But I've taken this in and they've just sorted it out pretty much straight away. They tried to fix it, you know. I was in store with the guy in Ambleside, and you know, he took the piezoelectric out and tried to fix it. And when he realised he wasn't going to fix it, he just gave me another one. So, you know, props to Alpkit, 5 out of 5 for customer service. And it's just easier because they have parts in the stores. Like, you can get a new piezo from the store if yours does give up. So it just makes just the longevity of owning a Brukit better than owning a Jetboil, because you have to go through Jetboil and email them and countless backwards and forwards, blah blah blah, whereas you just go into a store and say, look, my piezo's stopped, and they go, oh, we've got some upstairs, bring you some down, blah blah, fixed, job done. So that is something I do like. But I do have to say the build quality on the Jetboil does feel a little bit better, like just the fact that it slots in and it does actually lock, whereas my Brukit doesn't. Just little things like that that just make it feel a little bit more robust than this. But like I said, I've never had a problem with this and its robustness. I wouldn't quite trust this locking system as I showed you earlier, just on mine anyway, because I think like you can probably pick it up by it. Obviously on the jet boil, you can lock it out and you can just pick it up basically. And just about done that one-handed. You can just pick it up and it is one system. That's why they have a hanging kit, whereas I wouldn't trust this because it doesn't lock properly. So don't knock it over basically. So that's my review of the Alpkit Brukit. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more things like this, and I'm going to start to make more camping videos hopefully, just let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.